Francis E. Deck. Who is Francis E. Deck? Well, you better listen up, sheeple, and make copies for yourself.
Look at the picture. See the skull, the part of bone removed, the master race Frankenstein radio controls, the brain thoughts broadcasting radio, the eyesight television, the Frankenstein earphone radio, the threshold brainwash radio, the latest new skull reforming to contain all.
From that alone, you should be able to see that this isn't a normal person, nor a normal man. No, we have something even more special on our hands. But our poor boy wasn't always like this, not till the late 60s at least. So how did we get here? What is the story of E. Declan Esquire, the saint of Poland himself? It starts with a pretty normal life, you know. Nothing crazy, just a casual American upbringing, a Polish immigrant family raising a kid in, the 1920s, New York. 1926 to be more exact. Went to a Catholic school in high school, then to military, a bit off the beat, but still nothing too strange. After many, many years, he was discharged as a first-class private with a Manure Medal, I think that's how you say that, to his name. Later employed by the terrific, evil Nassau County Court Police Force as a New York bar lawyer. This is where the true and real story begins. During the mid-1950s, a case against the mayor. The district attorney was forging and cashing his son's disability checks and wanting to place him in an insane asylum. A little taste of Deck's paranoia, but you can sum that up to maybe a bad month, or maybe just a bad year. But soon after that, he was caught forging, second-degree larceny, and fraud, as well as deceit by the notary public in the same court for Elizabeth Rinchning. What the fuck is that name? Anyways, when she was trying to settle the insurance claim, Deck then, out of nowhere, accuses the jury in his case for being under Franklin Gelata. This sent him to, the beginning of his spiral downwards. For some reason, the judge apparently disagreed with his statement and sentenced Francis E. Declan Esquire to a 5-year-long probation, as well as dismemberment, or I think I meant to write. He lost his paper. This is likely cause of the beginning of Francis' gang stalking delusions, as he was caught trying to skip out on his probation, causing a 60-day lock-in at the loony bin in Pilgrim State Hospital for a mental examination. After this, nothing seems to really have happened from what we know, as he was just sent right back to probation, which doesn't really make sense because he was clearly schizophrenic, but maybe Francis E. Declan knew how to troll and, just trick the gangster computer gods away from it. This is when his this is when his life really starts to suffer. You can see the slow degradation of his life crumbling all around him. This is the point where he lives with his brother, bombarding the court with appeal after appeal. This is when, after what seems to be months of suffering, he releases his second most popular letter to all judges.
To all judges. First and Second Appellate Division, Superior Court, New York City. Court of Appeals, Albany, New York. U.S. Supreme Court, Washington, D.C. I write demanding a rehearing of my worse than lowest deadly gangster police state criminal conviction, which appeal case was in your farce, deadly gangster, ghetto communist, gangster computer god manipulated gangster court.
He tries to be patient with Nassau County Court, but the judges and attorneys give no dice. Losing the appeal, he does the unthinkable, releasing the holy gamer word time and time again. our mighty hero tried again and again with the evil Nazi USA crooked gangster-controlled legal system, but he keeps on failing over and over. This is when he plans his ultimate escape to the Slovenic lands of his forefathers in Poland.
In December 14th to 17th, 1965, I attempted to escape this worst mongrel gangster communist country to return to the Slovenic Polish land of my forefathers. Instead, in a gangster-staged parroting puppet deadly conspiracy, I was flown from Kennedy, New York Airport at night to a small distant St. Lawrence River estuary, snowbound small airport under the guise that I was in Warsaw, Poland.
At this point, Dek has reached the point of no return. Once a normie living a normal American dream life, to what is left of a shell of his former self. It's quite unfortunate to see how a mental illness like schizophrenia exists and affects its patients, especially in this context of Dek. Even with as funny as it is, though later as we will see, the story of this once great military soldier and lawyer does not end in the best ways possible. And we will see soon 3 notable villains in this story arc. As we were stating, Dek tried to flee to Poland, but that's the important word, tried. A stop at the airport was made. Most of us would think, oh, this is just a mid-stop for a plane, or maybe there was dangerous weather, or miscommunications between, the different parties involved. But not for Dek. He suspected that his brother started to glow. Maybe he was a part of the CIA and tried to poison him with poison nerve gas.
Later, while my return trip 707 Boeing jet airliner was being serviced for my return trip, I quickly walked into the airplane and saw a CIA gangster with a small electric hairdryer type blower pumping deadly poison nerve gas smoke into secret compartments under the ashtrays in the arms of the chairs, where later I was ordered to sit in the airplane full of CIA underlings, passengers, my assassins, who giggled as they watched me dragged in chains by the airplane by the gangster CIA police gangsters. These deadly gangster CIA passengers, they pressed the frontal panel of the ashtrays in the seat arms to release the deadly poison nerve gas smoke. Indubitably, all of the others deadly CIA underling gangsters aboard this staged return flight, they all had taken the top secret poison nerve gas antidote pill, immuning them from the deadly poison nerve gas smoke.
He is now left with nothing, apparently, though I could not find any concrete information about this. He was renting out a property before this, but it seems that even this has stopped. He has gone so far to the deep end that he is basically a hickey shut-in at this point. At this point, even his brother leaves him hoping that Dek was able to live on his own. This ended with Declan ripping out the entire apartment and completely trashing and curb stomping all contents in his house because he thought the CIA was after him and his extermination. Completely locked in, no info, no warnings, no nothing between 1969 to the year of our Lord 1982. Then one mystical night, the very man who made the great recordings and voiceovers for Dek, so much so that people confuse him for the real thing, Doc Varrock, also known as Boyd Pridden, a radio personality bored out of his mind, makes a dramatic reading for him and his friends. This eventually gets leaked out to the public, notably by punk rock band The Germs, by Don Bowles and a drummer. He was a drummer, to be more precise. They become so widely spread that it entered into the hands of the Weirdo Comics, which was like a weird comic in the 80s, 90s, about just, schizos. It's basically old-timey lolcow, as well as the Church of Subgenius, which is kind of similar, which has its own very interesting stories, we'll say that. Now that our Savior's name has been spread so far and wide, one man tries to enter, Doc Britton once again. However, he failed to meet Dek, as he respected his boundaries and did not invade his home, because he tried visiting his home, but Declan, obviously crazed out of his mind, just refused. The same cannot be said about Jackson Forrest and his two goons, Schletzler, or however you pronounce it. I can't tell. And David Hansen. If you know who David Hansen is. The creator of that weird, like, disturbing robot thing. You'll see more about it later. Our first culprit, Jackson Forrest, is a book binder that is located in Dallas, Texas, as well as developing a book related to the Heaven's Gate cult. Whether how good it is or bad, I'm not really sure. He ran a website named Hotwired, which showcased a few old memes like the evil inside. You know, nothing too much, but it did have a section named Deadly Lowdown Gangster Controls, obviously referencing to E-Deck, where it had certain weird things which I don't think I can show, but it had information about how you could steal credit cards at the time, fake your employment history, and how to find lost children, which in this context makes it sound like he's been doing other things with kids, and when you figure out his background, it's a bit more disturbing. Next is Schletzler. We don't have too much information about this guy, but he is the owner of Brain Food as a web designer, and apparently has owned the company since 1991. And finally, David Hansen. This guy's got a lot of lore, but for the TLDR, he produced a robot named Sophia. It's like a weird, creepy robot thing. And he also has a strange website that you could find on Jackson's website that would flash Get Disturbed. This is basically the Diddy parties of the 1990s. Which is very funny. It is something where people do like a bunch of degenerate shit. Supposedly there were goat heads and alligators. Not really sure how true that is for the alligator part, but there are pictures of goat heads. Again, I can't show that for obvious reason, but as you can see on the screen, there should be a example of one of those parties. The story ends with them trying to find the mental hospital because they went to Declan's house and they couldn't find anyone, so they went to their brother, which told them that they were in a mental hospital, so they looked for mental hospitals around the area. Most sensible people would say, you know, I should stop at this point, I should leave this, but they decided to dress like G-Men and, you know, like full glowy outfit. And Hansen being extra devilish, wanting to throw a tarantula at him because, you know, Lamau XD funny schizo, let's get a tarantula and just throw it at the person who made an entire clip about how, you know, they're stalking him. What they found instead was a dying Francis with what probably is dementia, unable to communicate properly, and they were ushered away after a few minutes. This leaves us with a, unfortunately, very sad ending to the story. And this poor man, due to, you know, his illnesses, is clearly he lived a very unstable life, but these three dumbasses think it's okay to, you know, go to a schizophrenic because, you know, it's okay, he said the N-word, so, you know, we could harass him. But yeah, that was the story of Francis E. Deck. A very interesting story, a very sad ending. But damn, those letters were funny. I just want to thank the thread on Kiwi Farms because I got a lot of info from there. There was a couple Wikipedia pages. There was another YouTube video that was really detailed on this, more than I'll ever be because I'm just doing this for fun. But they really put in the editing, everything. I'll put that in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me how it went. We'll see what I'm going to do in the future. I have an interesting one, I think, but I have to do more research about it because this one has few more serious allegations, so I need to be more precise with my information. Nonetheless, there's one more thing. In the description below, I have a website named ironcafe.org. It is a classic image board. It's basically my version of Discord. Obviously, I have a Discord below still, but I prefer people to share stuff on there. If you have any interesting schizos of your own, post them there and I'll check them out. Bye-bye.